So I had about 600 subscribers on this dead channel when I uploaded my video ranking the Elden Ring bosses. Actually, the only reason I decided to make a quality ranking despite the behemoth nature of the game is because I looked every day to see if there were any more videos to watch ranking the bosses, and there were only a couple videos out actually taking time to rank them in terms of quality. Difficulty rankings bore me. How much can you say, like it was hard to kill them? Really hard, like extra difficult. Okay, cool, now what? There's so much more intrigue in discussing the themes and scale and patterns and voice acting and cutscenes and I guess generally the whole package. Now that that video blew up, I'm gonna respond to some of the comments. Oh, and by the way, shout out to Sunburn Albino for inspiring the responding to comments idea. I'll link his channel in the description. He does these too and he's a lot funnier than me, so go check him out. And no hate to anybody who left kind of meanie comments. I know, it's just, you're just leaving comments on the internet over a game. It's no big deal. This is just for fun. Persona Fan Man says, why is it that every gank boss after Dark Souls 1 tries so hard to copy Ornstein and Smough or the Bell Gargoyles without realizing what made those fights so iconic and good? There's a lot of truth in this comment, but I'm gonna give you a mini truth bomb. Okay, well it's not really a truth bomb because it's just my opinion, so I'll give you an opinion bomb. I don't think ONS are the best gang fight in the series. Shock! I know, blasphemous. Feed me to Rykard. A lot of the gang fights aren't nearly as good as ONS, but to be honest, there are some that are better. Demon Prince and Fried/Ariandel have the same components you'd love from the ONS fight, but do so even better, updated graphically and mechanically. But then, FromSoft does stuff like Godskin Duo, and you wonder if they hit their heads that day and formed a memory loss problem. It's kind of weird how that works. David Zontala says, one of the worst compilations ever made, and I watched a lot. This list is all about your feelings, so far from the reality. Like, this boss is a bit spam, so I'll put him at the back of the list. Yep, this video is my feelings. That's kind of the whole point of making a video on a subjective topic, like how much I like a boss. I'm also a bit confused on what your Ambien trip-induced comment actually means. Alright, let's take this seriously though. When he says I'm complaining about spam, I think he means that I rated some of the bosses that we see 3 to 5 times a bit lower than I would have otherwise. I've thought about this a bit, and the variants are in hidden locations, so it's possible that a lot of players would totally miss bosses if they were not reskinned or duplicated. Godskin Apostle, for example. In that sense, I don't really have a problem with it, but if I see a boss 5 times in the game, I don't feel like the fight is as special of an encounter. It's a subjective complaint for sure, but it does affect the overall experience for me. CS says, love your enthusiasm for the game. Great vid. Why, thank you, sir. I am indeed passionate about a game that clearly had a lot of passion put into it. This commentary gives, I have to whisper yell because mom's in the other room vibes. Well, this is partially because I record these at odd times, so right now it's currently 5 a.m. and my roommates are sleeping. But I guess I wasn't passionate enough for Tiff Onyx. Your enthusiasm is unmatched. Oh, just kidding, false alarm, we're good. I genuinely think it is funny, and I've noticed this since I was posting back on my main channel, how you can have 2 comments literally back to back that say the exact opposite thing. Somebody will say, loved the editing, subbed, right next to somebody who says, will never return, editing was the worst I've ever seen. It's kind of just how the internet is, but it's funny. It does genuinely make it hard to course correct at times, but it is what it is. Shin Fang says, I don't agree with how you rank some of the bosses because of their difficulty. I'm again confused on what exactly the point is here, but I'm gonna infer. I think a lot of people put too much weight on the difficulty in their boss rankings. It's a component, and I think some element of fair challenge is necessary for a perfect boss, and a boss that I could never die to, even if I tried, like Pinwheel, would likely never be my favorite boss. But that's all it is, a component. A good example is like Divine Dragon, which is exceptionally easy for me, but is a fantastic display of visual storytelling and intrigue. I'd say difficulty does not even own a plurality of the components of quality in my book, but everyone can use their own scale. You can always feel free to leave your own comments of rankings or make your own videos. It's just my opinion, man. Dog28 says, Elden Beast is a much worse boss than Bed of Chaos. The whole fight with a melee class ist just a cluster frick of bad design and a horrible camera, which can change the direction of your roll. The exploring is great, But the bosses, bruh, the worst and lame main bosses of all Soulsborne games. I love how whenever I enjoy something, someone in the comments has to feel compelled to come and tell me how it's not only bad, but it's the worst thing ever conceived by mankind. It's okay to just not like Elden Beast, but I can't really understand the pure hatred. Have you done the run back to Bed of Chaos? Have you tried platforming in a Souls game as a boss? What about the issues that you literally can't even see what the boss is doing in Bed of Chaos either? In terms of camera issues, I tend to not use the lock-on feature on large enemies. I used a grafted greatsword, pure strength build, which I heard is pretty weak in this game, and I found almost no issues ending my fight with Elden Beast pretty quickly. I will admit the one orb attack that kind of like follows you around for a long time can be mildly frustrating, but it wasn't anything that ended a run. The boss only took a few tries and each attempt didn't take long. So I think people might be overselling the amount of running around it takes. Maybe he was just docile for me, not 100% sure. I'll stand by my ranking, and honestly, I kind of feel like moving him up. LeKent says, I don't really like the Elden Breast ranking. And that's all I'm going to say, because I only included it because he said Elden Breast, and that was funny. Hassan Wakar says, don't know how you don't have more subscribers. The quality of this video was so good. Seemed like a cool guy too. Wow. This is a real comment, totally. Not doctored at all. No, it actually is though. I don't know why I said that sarcastically. Thank you, Hassan. Camille Kratowski says, why are you even making the list if you didn't fight Fortisax? You rate him without knowing anything about it. It is not a good thing. So the reason I decided to go forward with the video despite not fighting Fortisax is because how lengthy the game is. I knew it would take me at least another 30 hours to get back to that spot and another playthrough and probably more. Honestly, I just didn't want to invest that much time and delay my video on a topical subject just for one boss. I did know some things about the boss though, like the soundtrack, the lore, and I watched the fight on YouTube. Of course, I can't accurately rate a boss I didn't fight, so that one's on me. I don't know why I thought killing Fia was the right thing to do, man. I should have checked online. Whoops. Lil Rarded says, how TF is Melania in your top 3, but the only good thing you had to say is that she looked cool. Lamau, effing subjective for Garbo boss. I don't exactly remember what I said in the video because I was kind of like doing it off the cuff, but if I was overwhelmingly negative, it was just because I knew this boss had an easy potential to be number 1 in my book. I did finally beat her, but in the end it felt a bit lucky because she just didn't spam the flurry attack in my final phase 2 attempt. After checking the comments, I 100% agree that if she just jumped backwards when she did the attack, it would fix the entire fight because you're directly under her. It's almost impossible to not get hit by the first flurry. I like playing aggressive, so it meant that I had to keep my distance for every third of her health bar or so when she was, more prone to use it, and I just don't enjoy playing the game that way. In any case, I also love her arena, her lore, her transition, her animations, her combos, my bad. Everything minus the flurry attack, really. Oh, and the music. Speaking of which, check out my video on the top 10 soundtracks from Elden Ring if you like it. Drop a like on this video and subscribe for more Elden Ring content, and other stuff too. Oh yeah, and 9,000 Chains responded fairly and said the whole list is subjective. That's kind of the point of rating the bosses, according to how he likes them. That is true, people seem to forget that. Gato says, hot take, I actually enjoyed the Godskin duo. Great music, and they're in such a late game area that you should be able to get good. I will say that they should have different AI, and I wish they had at least some form of character design that differs from their counterparts. I don't think people should be ashamed of liking bosses that other people hate, like me with Elden Beast. But I do think the simple problem with this fight is that doing all the fights without summons, it has 2 enemies, not balanced for a duo fight. Fighting 1 person. Just reference the previously mentioned duo fights for better examples on how to construct AI for the duo fight, and this fight would be fixed. Enjoying something is not a flaw, by the way, it's an advantage. You get to experience more positive emotions, so don't feel wrong for it, enjoy it. I'm jealous. That fight gives me butt pain though. Faldo says, due to pretty poor AI, most boss fights are really poor. They are very well animated and all that, but combat-wise, all the boss fights are just very unbalanced and bad, unfortunately. I don't really know what people mean when they say this. I've checked the subreddit and see people spamming hate for the bosses because they have too many attacks in a row, or spam too much, or because they have AoE. The problem with all these complaints is that you can no-hit every boss. You can learn every boss. People already have done every boss without getting hit at Rune Level 1. This game definitely demands more from the players, and the damage is very high, but I think that it's kind of good for us veterans of the series. We can finally be challenged in a way beyond like 2 hits and a counterattack. I also think the AoE is actually really necessary to counter the use of summons, which new players are spamming the hecky out of. Zaya del Rosario says, sorry bud, your video was not my cup of tea. I'll make sure to not watch your videos moving forward. I was hoping it would get better after a few minutes, but alas, you just got worse. Hope you enjoy making these videos. I can only assume that this guy hit himself so hard in the head when he fell down off his own pedestal that he forgot nobody cared about his opinion. Like, why can't people just click off of a video if they don't like it, or even just drop a dislike and dip? I'm not even sure what there was to hate about my video. It was immaculately innocuous. Besides the Elden Beast rating, I guess, though. Ace Slays says, personally, Morgott is not that high because I beat him on my first try and that low-key pissed me off. I feel you, brother. I did mention earlier, difficulty is not the be-all end-all, and that is true, but if a boss that has been hyped up non-stop literally can't kill you once, it does feel like an unearned victory in a way. It's kind of part of the whole open-world, non-linear experience. I think overall I still generally prefer the experience of Sekiro, being like this hyper-linear one, because no boss will be missed and then destroyed later. Every fight was a challenge in that game and a perfectly curated matchup. I think I like Elden Ring the most out of all the games at this point, but that one component is hard to not miss from Sekiro. Shrek's Meatballs says, literally one of the only boss rankings on the internet that doesn't cry and reduce points due to some cheap complaint, and actually takes into account every aspect of the boss fight instead of just the difficulty and awesomeness. Someone who actually understands what makes a great boss fight. Great. Seeing you talk so excitedly about the design, moveset, and music brought a smile to my face. Subbed. Thank you, Shrek's Meatballs. You're too kind. Shrek's Meatballs. Me and him go way back. Actually, that's a very nice comment. Thank you very much. To balance this out, Frank says, Renala better than Radagon, and this guy is a clown. I feel like you guys have been genuinely underrating Renala. There aren't many good caster bosses in the entire series, and I feel like this one is like genuinely up there as one of the best of all time. I appreciate that variety in attack style, along with the soundtrack, arena, and lore. And as I said in the video, all the top half of the bosses I love, and it turned into splitting hairs at that point. No need to be a meanie. Midral says, it's just a boring game. So you clicked on a video that was rating the bosses for a game you thought was boring, then also took the time to leave the comment letting everyone else know you thought the game was boring. It sounds like you're very bored. Marijuana says, I just got that. Elden Beast might be the worst boss From has ever made. I gotta say, like 90% of the comments are this. You guys really hit home how much you hated this bot, yet honestly, like I said, kinda just want to move the boss higher. Starscorn says, Radagon worse than Elden Beast? Give up the crack pipe, man. Dude, leave that out of this. I told you that in confidence. The Earthquake says, Elden Beast better than Gwyn? Now that's a hot take. Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is. I'm actually working on my list of all the bosses from all the games right now. And I'll tell you right now, Elden Beast is above Gwyn. Don't tell anyone though. It's our secret. You know, Mythy Moo, that YouTuber, I think that's how you say his name, put Elden Beast as the best in the entire game, so go rage at him instead. Also, I noticed that the Elden Beast running allows you to see the attacks that it's doing even better. So the camera becomes less of an issue, and you get to like take in the scope of the attack, similar to Divine Dragon mechanic where he launches you away while you run back to him. Wade Wilson. This is kind of a long comment, so I don't really read the whole thing, but I'll read a little bit. He's saying how the Ricard fight is bad. I can't stress how hitting that weapon art input multiple times for the win without even having to fully commit considering your position or Ricard's attack patterns most of the time just gets really damn boring after a few attempts. I wish people were less blinded by a flashy boss presentation and just give the boss fight itself the bashing it deserves. I don't really fully understand this comment either. In my battle with Ricard, I was definitely within Ricard's attack range like the entire time. I rarely utilized the weapon art at all. I just fought him the same way I would have with my grafted greatsword, except I was able to stand a bit further back and take in all of his attacks and visuals. I always find it frustrating chipping at the ankles of massive foes, and this fight allowed me to actually learn the boss mechanics and also see what was happening. Oh yeah, I wanted to comment on the damage in this game. Yeah, it's a lot. I think part of that can be solved with your physic, but I think something that brought this game to a higher level of enjoyment for me was genuinely just stacking a bit more vigor than normal. Maybe the game should do a little bit less damage, but I took the hint and stacked more than I normally would have, and didn't have the problems of getting one-shot that people seem to have, leading to the hate that the Fire Giant and some of the other bosses got. Just a note I had. Anyways, most of you guys were extremely supportive of my video, and I loved reading through all of your comments. Boss rankings always get a little heated, so no hate to the people who left it for me. I understand. Anyways, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content, and click here if you're interested in my ranking of the soundtracks. Thank you for watching. Peace.